Welcome to Wormhole Pinball Presents and part 5 of our podcast series called Arcades Across America. I'm your host, Jamie Burchell at the Wormhole, and let's start off by welcoming back to the podcast, all the way from Cottage Grove, Oregon, my co-host once again from the Quarter Drop Arcade. Hello, Coe. How are you, sir?
Hello, Jamie. Oh, I'm doing great, and I'm
New
really excited
location?
about tonight's guest. I know, look at this. My background is different. I'm at the Quarter Drop Arcade. I'm very close to opening.
And you're
Exciting
11
times.
days.
11 days as of recording this. Yep.
Wow.
0 hours, close.
Wow, that is fantastic. I've been following your progress online like all of us have, and I love the long-form YouTube video that you made recently. I thought that was fantastic.
The reception to that has been amazing, and the video is an hour and 20 minutes long. And I was just thinking, oh, I'm gonna do this for the community because the people that are really diehard will want to see every nook and cranny. And sure enough, the video is doing great, and people are loving it. So I couldn't be happier with it.
Let's say hello to Hans, aka Pinball Hans, all the way from California. First, how are you, Hans? And were you affected by the terrible wildfires in California?
I am great, Jamie, thankfully, and great to see you again, Coe, and of course, Nick. Yes, I wasn't directly, I'm in Orange County, so most of the fires all happened up in LA, but a clubhouse of an old hiking club was built in the 1800s is burned to the ground. Two of dear friends' homes are completely burned. They had nothing but their dogs and pets, so it's just horrible. I mean, if you've lived here for any length of time at all, you know someone who lost their home, so it's that widespread. So keep sending those good thoughts, and there's been a great community outreach with donations and volunteering time and all that stuff, so it's always good to see that part of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And from Roanoke, Virginia, Nick Schell from the Roanoke Pinball Museum. Hi, Nick. Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you, Jamie. It's always fun to do a podcast every once in a while. And where are you located? Oh, you're in Houston. That's right.
I'm in Houston. Yeah, the Wormhole's in Houston. We've got I'll give you a quick we got about 250 machines. We only have room for 23 here, but we have multiple locations that we're looking to grow in 2025 and 2026.
That's awesome because it's pinball is not exactly easy to scale. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's not easy to scale, especially when you have a benefactor like Tim and Christine that like to buy these rare ones, and he keeps buying them and buying them and buying them. So
need a place to store them, just let me know.
I will. All right. So, Coe, I had the best time hanging out with Hans at Expo in October, and his stories are great. So I had to book him immediately for the podcast. So since there is a bunch of us today, our goal is not only pick your brain about your establishments and get to know your establishment, but also pick your brain as the Quarter Drop is about to open and Wormhole is about to expand. So free consulting advice to both of us. I hope you guys don't mind.
Course.
No problem.
All right. Let's start with Hans. How long have you been involved in pinball? When did you start operating machines, sir?
Oh, geez. Okay, so involved in pinball all the way back to the teenage, years and playing at the local bowling alley and all. I think well, I shouldn't say we all. A lot of us started that way. A lot of us discovered it more recently. So been in my blood all my life. As far as operating goes, I've been operating on and off since about 2008. I had a mall, like a food court off the food court mall arcade in upstate New York for a while, and a putt-putt golf course up there. And then, marriage and moved back to the West Coast and everything. And, pinball became a very tiny hobby. I think at one point I got down to one machine, clinging to one machine. Now I'm back.
What was that one you were clinging to?
It was strange. It was a Williams Shangri-La of all games. So I don't have it anymore, but that's what it got down. An old Williams EM with 2-inch flippers. But I've been operating since then, and then kind of on and off. But more recently, I've ramped it back up, and I've got 8 locations throughout Southern California. And I'm about to open my own pinball bar. So I'm super excited about it.
Can you give us a little more overview of what the breakdown is as far as how many pins you have and how many locations and what's some of the highlights maybe of that collection?
Yeah, so if you go on pin side, EM Dude, not Pinball Hans. I never changed it, so not to be confused, but EM Dude on pin side. I'm up to 93 or 94 pinball machines, I think. And in varying years, I've got too many EMs, lots of EMs, but I've got lots of new games, as you can see behind me. And I'm operating primarily, obviously, new games. So I've got a brewery with 9 pins and a beer pong game and a couple cocktail video games. Then I've got an indoor mini golf course with another 9 games. And then I've got random breweries with 2 or 3 here and 2 or 3 pins there. But mostly, the bulk of what I operate is pinball. So I'm in the, probably 90% pinball. Then if they, hey, give me a vending machine, can you put an old classic arcade cabinet in here? I'll do that as well. So, but primarily pinball. A little bit different for the arcade we're going to build. I'll explain that when we get to it. But
Awesome.
yeah, it's
Absolutely.
beer and pinball just go. It's just incredible how
Yeah, they do.
my top location just crushes it. It's so fun. I run a league there, and actually I found a TD because TD tournament director. Being a tournament director and an operator is too much. So I'm so grateful I found a guy to run it. He's got a great following. He brings the people in, and I keep the games running.
You got to outsource it, man.
Yes.
You got to
Yes.
outsource. We outsource a lot. I'm sure Nick outsources a heck of a lot at the museum. You got to get as many volunteers as you can to help you out, and because being an operator and a TD, and it's brutal. And then every
Yeah.
ball, you're all over it.
I just lined up 2 IFPA tournaments, and I'm not going to be doing the, rulings or running the. I have guys come in and with the local leagues, they'll be doing all that. So
it's a different skill set too. It's not anything like opera. You need to really know the rules of the games. You need to play referee. You need to play dad. You need to play so many roles. And software, there's just a lot of it's like reading another language, and you're trying to get through match play, the website, and what this means and this type of tournament, all that. So like I said, I'm grateful to have someone do it. I love being involved in them, but running them's not my core strength.
Real quick, Hans, do you prefer coin drop, tokens, credit cards, card systems, combination of all three? What do you do?
Glad you asked. So tokens are what I use mostly now, but it's based on number of locations. So if I have 3 games or fewer in a location, I put a quarter and a bill acceptor in each coin door. Above that, I'll do maybe a change machine, but anything around the 6, 8 games, I want to put a token machine in there because tokens cost me about a dime or less, and a quarter cost me a quarter. So I'd rather put that money to work. I don't care if they walk out the door because I just made 15 cents. And so I love tokens. There's no reason to break into a game that's full of tokens either because they're worthless, basically. So I love tokens, but at my new location, and I'm going to pilot it at a local bar, I'm going to definitely go card tap. I'm sick of going. I spend way too much time moving tokens around the arcade. I could be rebuilding flippers or doing something much more important than that. So we're going to go card tap at the
Cool.
at the new location.
breaking news: Quarter Drop Arcade is now Token Drop Arcade.
Good for you.
Hey, Nick, I'm curious about your Nick's North American Pinball Tour. What gave you that idea?
My God, it has been, I think, 8 years because it started at March of 2017. So that would have been 8 years ago. Good Lord. But basically, I'd quit my enterprise IT job at I guess I shouldn't say that. But yeah, I was just burnt out. You do the minimum necessary to not get fired. And, I was just sick of it. I've been doing IT for 25 years. So, eventually they're like, yeah, take your severance and go. And I'm like, yay. So then I had to figure out what to do. But this was in late 2016. I was actually let go the day Trump got elected in 2016. Weird. But anyway, so be it, new things. So I basically asked the internet, there's a big Pinside thread. I documented all of this, but this is when, phones, you have Google Maps, and then we had Pinside and I just said, I'll come to you wherever you are in the United States. And if you got a EM that's not working, I'll stay with you, you feed me, whatever, put me up a couple $100 and I'll be on my way like Johnny Appleseed. And I spent all of 2017 crossing the USA, I think 30,000 miles, and visited about 60 different people, businesses, locations. So wound up being just an incredible experience. I have yet to document it, but what gave me the idea was it was literally like I had this pinball hobby that was growing while my interest in tech and certifications and all that, and it just was like, well, why don't I see if I can just monetize this and meet some people and kind of bankroll a trip across the USA, and it all just came together the right way.
Did you document it like camera-wise on YouTube? And
it's not on YouTube. I don't have a video of it. I probably should stitch one together, like maybe a 10th anniversary or something. But,
yeah.
There's a Pinside thread where it's like I'm in, Baines Island, Seattle, and I'm here with who's that a basketball player? I forget his name. Wayne or Warren. Anyway, he's got like 121 games. He's spent all his money on pinball and stuff. So I took pictures of it, and some of the Mark Ritchie, some of those people were there, and I'm like, I'm playing this, and this is what I fixed, and this was burned up. And so each page is kind of like another stop on the tour. But unfortunately that's the only way you can read it. But I tried to make it interesting. It does have some of the fixes and some of the insights of where I was along the tour. But it's just a big pinside thread.
That's awesome. How did you get involved in the Roanoke Pinball Museum? And can you talk about how the museum started?
Well, so it started in 2015 of June, and it was by one of the existing board members of this downtown arts and cultural. They have like a like 5-story historic building in the middle of downtown, and they had like a history museum and a performance hall and like all these different museums in there, like this pavilion. And their history museum wasn't working out, so one of the board members was about to get divorced if he didn't get all those pinball machines out of his living room, which I'm sure plenty of pinball widows out there, right?
Sure.
Anyway, but he visited the Asheville Pinball Museum and thought maybe we could do this here, and he took all his games out of his house. They went and bought a bunch of stuff on Craigslist and just sort of. They didn't really have a plan, but they're like, we know we need to put a bunch of pinballs in here and just it will just happen. And that was in June of 2015. And then I didn't come around until I think it was Halloween of 2017 on one of my pinball tour legs. Wasn't originally scheduled to visit Roanoke, but they had seen the CBS. There was like a CBS News kind of journey. And they saw it, and they're like, we need to get this guy in here. And of course, I went in there, and I'm like, you got a lot of broken stuff. I mean, you're going to need, I'll spend 3 days here, but you're going to need weeks. Your logo's wrong, your pricing's wrong, you're not targeting the right audience. I took all this knowledge from all these barcades I visited across the USA. I'm like, this is just not going to work. And he said, well, you can stay a couple of weeks if you want. And I go, yeah, but I got this tour thing. He goes, or you can stay forever. And I go, what do you mean forever? And then I realized my dad lived 2 hours away in Burlington. I liked the green. It wasn't Dallas, Texas. I wanted something a little more easygoing, and I just thought, what the hell? This is not like running an arcade. And I was kind of planning maybe to open my own barcade, but this gives me inputs to this arts and cultural center of this city. So I can do more than just pinball. I can also, lots of creative business kind of stuff. So I just thought I'd take a chance on it, and it has been the best decision of my entire life. So it was just opportunity and serendipity coming together.
Let me interject one thing. Nick was looking all around the country, kept us all in suspense during this period because he took state flags of all the states he might move to, and he narrowed it down state by state to the final two. I think the final two were California and Virginia. I'm like, come on, California, come on.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's right. You got to make it fun, right? So I kind of was like, but it's going to be. Some people guessed it right, but California would have been fun too. My brother lives there, but ultimately. Yeah, it's Virginia. So, yeah, so that was March of 2018 when I came here, and I'm coming up on my I guess that would be 7th anniversary here already, and it has flown by. I mean, the whole world's different now anyway from before COVID and everything. So, just crazy.
I said before, I'm happy to announce that we have filed our 501c3 paperwork and just waiting for IRS approval. So. We're trying to do what you guys have done, and a lot of the other museums are doing across the United States. So we're real excited here. So congratulations on your success. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, I got lots of there's there's a lot we'll discuss about like how do you advertise, what are the strategies, blah 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 blah. But yeah, congratulations on that. That's definitely your first big step.
Thank you.
And Nick, can you give us a little breakdown of your lineup, what it looks like? Is it mostly older, modern, all of it? What's the kind of breakdown look like?
And I have some interesting news that's coming up about the museum, but because we're a museum kind of in name only. It's kind of like, I want there to be exhibits that you can press a button and you see a pinball fly and there's an accelerometer and it shows the mass and it's like a kind of half science museum and half pinball, and gets more into the true educational STEM part of it rather
Yeah.
than just kind of like, well, they're pinball and they're neat and look at them and I'll open them up. Like I want to show to a level that's never been done before, and that's just around the corner. But we have a lineup of well, we have our oldest machine really is a Tupi Hollandaise. I don't You've probably seen these things maybe on YouTube. Y'all, you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
It's from
I
the
don't.
Gilded Age, and it's basically a table that's kind of a predecessor of a game called Skittles. Maybe you've heard of it, or Beyblades. You pull a string, and this little spinner top flies around in these brass curves with these little figurines and so forth, and you try and knock down these little pins that are kind of hidden all in there, and you can tilt the table. So it's a predecessor of pinball that's like maybe parallel to the whole because billiards is the granddaddy of pinball. It became bagatelle and then it became shrunk down and they put a spring in there and all that. But this is parallel to that. It's also a thing flying around, knocking things and kind of tilting the table. So that's probably the closest experience to pinball today that you could have. And this would have been the piece is from the mid, 1800s, maybe.
Wow.
It's from France, so I mean Napoleon could have played it. It's something that really, really, really well-to-do people, people like us wouldn't even have known this thing existed, but really fabulous to have it. That's kind of the beginning, and then we move on to, I got a Humpty Dumpty 1947, the beginning of flippers. Got a couple of pre-wars next to it to kind of show the quaint, kind of humble beginnings of pinball, but then we've got EMs from 60s, 70s, then we get into the 80s, Bally's, wide bodies, and then we got your 90s and your alphanumeric, space shuttle, DMD, and then finally Stearns, and then we just got our first Jersey Jack, Elton John. So we want
Great
to represent the whole kind of period, of pinball.
The museum is daily fee, right? Do you like that model?
Oh, that's the only way to go. Yeah, I don't want to deal with like swiping or
Right.
coins or no. Come on in, pay one price, pay. It's like
All day, come
yeah.
back.
I mean, you could squeeze people for Dave and Buster's is really good at monetizing the kiddie casino that it is. You can spend $50, $100 in an hour. It goes like that. I mean, yeah, but if you're trying to create a museum that can stand the test of time, I have a little different situation. I'm not selling alcohol. I'm not a barcade. It is a museum. It's a boutique experience in a historic building in the middle of downtown. So it really is angling to be more like the Strong Museum of Play, like up in Rochester, as a boutique experience that so we need to keep it simple and just kind of like a museum. You just walk in and you do whatever you want to do.
Sure. Do you have any expansion plans?
Yes, we do. We're going to go.
Well, let's talk about it because I want to talk about Han's expansion as well. So let's.
Well, it's not official yet, but there is some rumblings in the board meetings about how we'll be able to get probably go from about 65 machines to about 100, and that will allow us also room for extra bathroom, a bar area, some exhibits, kind of a welcoming area. So it's going to profoundly transform the business, and it will feel much more of a complete museum that we say we are rather than kind of an arcade, if that makes sense.
Do you have a time frame on this, or is there?
I think in the next, they're saying 12 months or less, right around in that time period. So I'm doing all I can to prepare for.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, because there's other things we're doing. We got raffles as a nonprofit. You can do raffles. We just started doing that. We've already blown out like 15% of our ticket availability in the first like 5 days. So we'll be doing that pretty soon. And the rules are different in each state, but in Virginia, it's permissive as long as you don't sell too many. I think it's 40,000 you can gross within a 12-month period, and you're kind of don't have to deal with permits and stuff like that.
Okay.
A little different for every state, but
Fundraising is a challenge no matter where you are. You know.
yeah, we got to do everything we can because again, we don't have the beer money and we're not squeezing people for the, we don't have crane games. Those are really profitable. We don't have that, because it's, for a boutique experience, you don't want to, it's different, it's just a different business. So
those cranes are like ATMs. They're just ATM machines.
Yeah,
right?
I know. It's crazy. It's so funny. You put something that people wouldn't buy for 50 cents on a table from Goodwill, whatever, put a bunch of stuffed animals and people are like, I don't want that, But you just put it behind a piece of glass and it just changes their psychology. Like, well, you're not going to tell me I can't have anything I want. I'm going to put I'm going to get that. That's mine. I live in a world where I get what I want. It's like this weird.
There's a demand for them too. I wasn't even really planning to have claw machines at the quarter drop, but that's like one of the most common questions I get is, will I have claw machines?
Yeah.
So I have 3 of them now because everyone wants them.
I know. I mean, maybe we should. I mean, if I could get okay, if I could get one that is like the old digger machines with the little wheel and it looks classic and it's like a little steam shovel that comes up.
Those are great.
If I get one like that, maybe I will do that.
There you go. There you go.
Nothing with RGB neon.
Hans, talk about your expansion plans. This is now a good time to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let's hear about it.
The operating in that is just to kind of get things rolling and test the market really. But unfortunately, my #1 brewery location, he has a type of license that he can repeat his license in California to other locations. So he and I hit it off pretty fast. We have a great situation going. We are opening Hyper Beer Company here in Anaheim, California. So it is 2 miles from Disneyland. It's funny because Nick and I talked. Nick's been in the business longer than I have, doing the actually operating a museum and being involved in it. So I always appreciate his opinion. So he and I talked a while back, and Nick, as much as you don't sell beer, you said, Hans, you need to get those in breweries, and that's the best thing.
Brewery is it, yeah.
Breweries are great, but then I said, I want to do something more. And then really, Nick, you and I talked, and we kind of tossed it around, and I think together we agreed either do breweries and just be an operator or build the mothership. And so I'm doing both. I got the operator, we're building the fucking mothership. So the mothership is Hyper Beer Company. It's fortunately a little bit my professional background. So I have a degree in construction management from many years ago, but I've been an owner's rep in retail for the last 20 years of my 25 years or something in my career. So worked in-house for Apple, building worldwide retail stores worldwide, in-house for Whole Foods, Williams Sonoma. So retail development, leasing, work letters, permitting, conditional use, all that's right in my day job. So what it takes to open this arcade is in the sweet spot of my profession anyway. And so in Anaheim, we've had to do it all. It isn't just I'm just going to hire my friend Joe to build this out. So it's in a high foot traffic area. It's about 2,500 square feet.
Ooh.
Class A retail. And what that means in the retail world is like an office building, or real nice retail, not a crummy strip mall with weird neighbors. And so this is a really nice ground floor retail space. 4 floors of residential above, and just hundreds or thousands of residential condos and rentals all around us. It's in a historic area of Anaheim called the Packing District. So there's an old, huge packing house where they used to pack all the lemons and oranges and citrus out of Anaheim to ship them all over the country. They've converted that into 30 restaurants and bars, and we're 1 block from there.
Awesome.
So we're going to do a mix. I love pinball, so it's going to be more than half pinball. I've got about 22, my layout I'm looking at right now, 22 pinballs. I'm going to put 3 lanes of skee ball in there. I love skee ball. It's so approachable. I even want to do a skee ball league at some point.
Oh, that's awesome. My wife loves skee ball.
Because anybody can play it. So compared to pinball, especially
best.
today's pinball, everybody, my fiance loves skee ball, but kind of iffy on the new pinball machines. So a couple basketball shooters, and then a Guitar Hero. Got to have a Guitar Hero.
Got to.
So and I just found doing a trade.
Do you have the Guitar Hero? Because I've been looking forever.
You
have one? Oh wow.
I bought a Beat Project one, and I got but it works. So it's a good start. It needs to be cleaned out.
Nicely done. They're hard to find.
Yes, they are. So a quick aside. So let me tell you a funny thing about Guitar Hero. So I told you I've been operating since 2008, right? So in 2008, Guitar Hero Arcade came out. It was the biggest thing in my distributor. You got to buy one. And a friend of mine bought 3. I bought 1. It was like 10 grand back then. It was a lot of money. It was by far the most expensive game, because pins back then, my Shrek was my first new in box Stern. It was like 3,500 maybe, not even that probably. Yeah, around 3,000, somewhere in there. But that thing cost 10 grand. And I set it in there. I was so excited. I put it right by the food court where everybody, the high foot traffic area, nobody played it.
Oh man.
Didn't earn shit. People sold it. And the
Mm.
reason is everybody had it at home. So
Yeah.
why am I going to pay the
Mm.
dollar? And so we thought bragging rights and all that nonsense. Bragging rights are online. So total flop that game was. So it kills me now to pay half that for a piece of shit project one. And that thing didn't earn me shit. And the reason that it's so popular now is because all those kids who are playing at home now are older.
Yep.
They don't have it at home anymore. So they absolutely love it. So, you know, I guess it's a full circle and a happy ending. We'll see how it earns. But
I've heard from a lot of operators say if you have a Guitar Hero, when you open till you close, people are going to be on it, playing it.
it's going to be
That's
right
amazing.
across from the Dance Dance Revolution I'm trading for too. So
Yeah.
Awesome.
Those are good too.
Well, I know you have a big pinball scene in Anaheim, but what about in Roanoke? What's that look like?
Well, we are the pinball capital of Virginia now. Thank you very much.
Okay.
There you go.
So, I mean, I'll have to expand a little bit. I have, yeah, the museum has about 65 machines. We're going to go to 100 soonish. There are 4 breweries on my way to work, which is, again, small town, all of 5 minutes. So every one of them, I'm like, hey, you might want to have some entertainment for your friend. So I personally we have pins and we used to have it in 4, but one of them changed their floor plan. So a friend of mine in one of my employees, part-time tech, he has about 7 at one of these breweries, and at the other 2, I've got 4 at one location and then 3 at the other, with the 4th being a friend of mine. So that's about 7 machines I personally have on location on the way, but I'm basically blanketing the downtown area with, you know, the brewery plus pin formula. It's so much better because, you know, bars, they're kind of the middleman. So space is at a premium. They rent places that are close to population density, don't have a lot of floor space, that to buy their merchandise and image. So it's much more difficult to get games in a bar because they're kind of in that middleman space. But a brewery, usually further out, usually have way more space, and they need something cool to bring people in. So it's just a natural fit for pinball to be the pull. You know, like you drive a little further, you get to do something more fun. So I've got 7 machines on locations in there. I've got 65 at the museum. My house, I'm about to turn it into a pinball B&B. I'm hoping this year will be the year I open it up. That's where I'm going to keep my personal collection of mostly EMs, some very, very early solid states with chimes, but I'll have about 19 machines in the attic that I've totally retrofitted. You walk up and it's like Pinball Palace up there. And that's kind of
That's fantastic.
yeah, and they're going to be my cherry, meticulously rebuilt, clear coated, airbrushed, you know, perfect EMs. So, and the ones in the museum are, you know, give them the love too. But you know, to have all that for yourself for one stay is pretty awesome. So between that's the 3-legged table: B&B, breweries, pinball. I guess all together that would be like 100. It's soon to be 130 or whatever. But yeah, that puts us as the number one destination within about 250 miles in any direction to have this many pins under one roof.
Fantastic. Do you have leagues there?
Oh yeah, and what you were
Okay.
saying earlier about don't be an operator in a league, it's true. Like I
Yeah.
cannot do. I have one of my employees is a tournament director. He does the advertising, runs match play, does all the getting the payments that you need, you know, from people to participate. There's just so much to it. You got to keep it separate or your brain will explode. There's just too much.
It is a lot. Same question, Hans. I've had a lot of Californians on this podcast already. We're only on the 5th one, but how's the pinball scene in California?
it's fantastic. In fact, in 2 weeks, we've got Indisc out here happening right
Yeah,
here
I know.
road. So I'll be volunteering as a tech out there, and probably a scorekeeper as well. I'll play a couple of cards. I suck at pinball, so I don't have any high hopes. But
Throw a couple of cards out there.
it's just fun to get out there, and I know
Yeah.
friends will be there from across the country. So the scene's great, but it's kind of fractured. So I mean, SoCal, we got in the greater Southern California, we got 10 million people, right? So we're all spread out pretty good. So you got to drive in traffic. So to create a scene in your town, Captain's showroom's really big here in Anaheim, right? But it's a there's no food or drink. It's just pure pinball, incredible pinball, tons of games. But that brings a lot of people to town, which is actually good because we're going to be a pinball bar. We're going to be open from noon till midnight, basically 7 days a week. So we want to capture that scene. And in fact, I don't know if now's the time or not, but trying to get through the city. So this is advice for people wanting to open an arcade bar and thinking it's easy too. I want, hopefully there'll be some education in this, but to be able to open, we had to have a meeting. The planning commission, first, you have to lease the space, right? So find the space you want to lease and then negotiate that lease and get into those details a little bit, what to look out for, what to do and not to do. And then make sure the city allows your use, right? You can lease a space, commercial space, but if the city says you can't use it that way, you're out of luck. So we met with the city. And the city said, hey, we want to activate that street more. There's already restaurants. We love your use, but you have to do a conditional use permit. We can't let you open just like this, which was a, $10,000 deposit to get that, plus a lengthy process, a public hearing. The letters went out to thousands of neighbors, right? And the public could speak against it or for it, all that process. But when we met with the city, the planning commission gave us an initial meeting. And in that meeting, which was really encouraging, they said, hey, we love the use. We want to activate this. We think a pinball bar is cool. So as soon as I heard that, I said, okay, we got the city behind us. Now, granted, we might not be successful in getting this, but at least they want it, right? If they didn't want it, it'd be an uphill battle all the way. So that was a huge step in the right direction. So getting the city, behind us was huge. And I'm happy to report we had our hearing early December. Not a single person from the community showed up against, and the Planning Commission of Anaheim voted 7 votes to 0 in favor of approving our conditional use permit. So we are
amazing. Congrats.
Congrats.
That's huge. I remember talking to Hans about this when he visited the Quarter Drop, and it's interesting because it's the opposite, in a small town and where I'm at in Cottage Grove, it's like there's no permits or anything. I went to the city. I'm like, is there anything I need to be aware of? Permits? Or like, nah, just open up. There was like nothing to it. Yeah.
But I guess, what I want to share is don't be intimidated if you're in, there's a reason there's restrictions in a large area, but our foot traffic is going to be insane, right? I fully intend to advertise in the hundreds of motels that are around Disneyland about pinball bar nearby, So, millions and millions of tourists come here. So of course it's harder, but I think our upside's really big as well, right? So it's to me it's worth the pain. Now, granted, I've got experience in this in a profession, Jamie, let me just read through some highlights on lease things to look out for.
Please, this is fantastic. I love it.
So, and to do a commercial lease, you do what you call a letter of intent. So first of all, I called the broker, the phone number on the thing. A week goes by or something. He finally calls me back, and they're like, "You're a tire kicker. Who are you?" Plus, as a sole proprietor, you've got they might want a Starbucks in there or something like that. So you're competing against the big boys if they're after. And this is sat vacant for a while, so I knew there's a good chance. Of the cool thing was he was good. He said, hey, instead of this space, that's already going to be this. I got another one over here, and he showed me the space we ended up at, which ended up being much better for our use. So he was helpful in that. And then he drafts up what they call an LOI, letter of intent. And that's just to negotiate the major terms of the lease before you get into the big fat, 90-page document. So when you get the big chunks out of the way, then it's more likely the negotiation is going to go well. And that's where you really get your things down. So just a few highlights on that. I had to be a guarantor. Since I'm not a corporation, I have to sign on the dotted line. My assets are on the line here because they have to be. They're not going to, they want to make sure someone guarantees the lease. Along those lines, though, I negotiated where it isn't the length of the lease, right? It's only for a portion. So if we pay our bills and do really well for a certain number of years, then it goes into a 2-year rolling guarantee, right? So technically I wouldn't be on the hook for the entire, decade or more long lease. I'd only be less. So things like that are helpful. The term options. So what if your business is super successful? You got a term of 5 years and all of a sudden your term's up and you have a great business and they triple the rent. So we have a fixed term for a period of time and we have options. So at the end of the initial term, we can just sign the dotted line another 5 years. And after that, sign another 5 years. So
nice.
We're in for a long period of time, anticipating success. Contingencies, one of the CUP was one of them. So if the city said nope and denied us, we'd be out. We wouldn't be on the hook, right? Okay. Tenant improvement allowance, I'm getting money back from the landlord to do work. So I'm getting 50 grand back from the landlord to actually do our build out. So drywall, flooring, all that stuff, I get money back for. That's a really big one. And then rent abatement, getting some free rent is nice if you can get it. And then being able to sublet is a huge one, or sign the lease. So let's just say everything goes bad. Nobody wants pinball in Anaheim. We're out of boat. I can sublet to a Mexican restaurant or something. I have the ability to sublet the space. So anyway, those are some highlights, really important stuff when you're, don't just sign in the dotted line with the landlord. Negotiate. Every lease is negotiable.
Great. Very valuable information for anyone looking to do what you're doing.
Yeah, but don't be afraid. I mean, just go eyes wide open. But you don't want to do it thinking it's easy. But on the other hand, if it's your dream and you've got good partners and you know how to turn a screwdriver and tech and machines, which Nick will sure agree that's the most important thing, and you too as well.
Yeah, let's talk about Tekken. Let's talk about Tekken. I assume, Hans,
The fighting game from 1990. No.
Yeah, that's a good game. Tekken.
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about it. Hans, do you do all the tech work yourself?
I do. Yep. And
Yeah.
I'm going to find, so what I'm doing is I'm doing a war chest of games that right now, before we open, I'm getting bulletproofing games. So I've got huge redundancy. So 20 games will be in the Hyper Beer Company, right? But I've got another 15 or 20 that are perfect. So if something's really problematic and I can't fix it quickly, I'm just going to swap games. So I always.
Well, when you move something breaks, right?
Of
That's
course.
the rule of pinball, right?
Yep. So that's one thing I'm doing to kind of bolster, and then I'm going to start find someone to train at least to do cleanings and basic repairs and that sort of thing. And then I've already got a board guy who wants to help me out who can repair boards and things. So people are starting to come into the fold. But yeah, you're looking at them. I'm the primary tech.
Nick, how do you hire all these techs? How do you maintain all these machines?
So it's
because it takes a village when you have 100.
It does. Well, actually, having more means less work, ironically, because you will have the wear and tear spread out over more machines rather than filling your space to capacity, blasting them all down, and then emptying them out, fixing them, and then filling it back up again. You see, you have more. So it's actually better to have more. But 65 is too much for one person to maintain with a free play model, because free play games get played like way more than pay to play.
Yeah.
So, my games that have been on location, they've been on location now for over 2 years. I think I've replaced one flipper band. That's it, pretty much. But the stuff at the museum, it is like, gotta clean them. All right, gotta tighten them down. All right, gotta fix this. Gotta do new plastic. And it's like, but I have 2 part-time techs. And it's mostly me, and no one else can do EMs. I'm really the EM person because, but then it's its own thing kind of. And then luckily there is a group of volunteers who are also collectors, and they were already coming to the museum in the early days to help them dig out of their disaster, that was happening. And I've just given them, I'm like, whatever you want, I'll give you. We'll go out every time we get together. I take them out to eat. If I sell a game, I give them the first right to buy it. I just treat them like gold, because one of them's a board tech and the other one can do playfield restoration and swap playfields and stuff like that. So they've done things like, swap playfields for me, rebuild, recap boards, do board work, header pins, resolder, all that kind of stuff. And I see them about once a month. So between the occasional, I call them the Alpha Squadron, so between these guys, there's about 4 guys we get together, and my 2 part-time guys. One's mostly tournament work, but can do, cleaning and adjusting and some flipper repair and basic stuff. The other is a little more technical. And then me kind of showing up like a ghost. I'll be in at sometimes 2 a.m. if I can't sleep. I'll go fix some pins. But this is all about throwing time at machines. And it just seems like for 65 machines, 1 full-time, 2 part-time, and some occasional help from the community can really keep this wide array of machines going. Whereas what Hans is doing, you're probably not routing any old WPCs, are you?
No, only mostly new stuff. And a few, I got a haunted house on location that's actually holding up extremely well. People love it, and I can't believe how well it's holding up. So.
Nice. But yeah, you'll be able to you can do that by yourself. You could, and having someone standby if you have some catastrophic node board failure or whatever to swap in, is you're just in a great position to handle that for sure.
I consistently hear from arcade owners that say their number one challenge is like finding technicians that are qualified to work on these machines. And do you have that experience? Like, is it really difficult to keep a good tech around? Nick?
I don't. The same t Jason, who is he was there he got hired like a few months before I did. And so I've been working with him a lot and just teach him everything, whatever I know. And then Benjamin, he moved from upstate New York. And it's funny, he had a few pinball machines at home, but his wife is kind of the breadwinner and does a lot of she's like a nurse and a practitioner and all that. And Roanoke its main industry is healthcare. We have a giant for the region. We have like a gigantic hospital healthcare system, and they were tired of the cold, came by and was like, there's a bunch of hospitals here. Maybe I could get a job here. And then Ben walks in and sees the pinball museum, is like, well, this is pretty cool. I'm like, well, if you decide to move here, and I'll get you a gig. And they talked, and it's like, I think we'll do that. So now he's part of the team, and they've both been on. But I make sure that as much as I invest in my machines, I also invest in people, because this is a small town. It's going to be easier for Hans to find qualified people than me. So I want to make sure that everyone is having a good time and happy and keeping things going.
Our tech here, we have our lead tech gets more juice, if you will, about fixing the machine than he does playing. And he just geeks, and he's geeking and geeking on these really rare ones, which is kind of like, as Coe said earlier, our secret sauce here at the Wormhole, right? And so we're doing tech days. He's constantly recruiting new technicians, because with 250 machines, we've got a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot of work. All right. And am I missing anything before we play our wrap-up game called the Hurry Up? Am I missing anything that you guys wanted to talk about?
Well, let's see. Hans is going to be selling beer and anything else, cocktails, or is it just?
Yeah, no, thanks for mentioning that, Nick. So yeah, it's the brewery. We're gonna have our own beer there. So it's being brewed at offsite at a different brewery, which I have games at. But it's all gonna be recipes just for this location, on and off sale beer, so people can buy it in cans. We're gonna do pinball themed can labels, which would be really cool, and names.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
All that, our logo, which I'll share with you, Jamie, so you can put it in the notes or whatever,
Totally.
I'll send it to you. Yeah, so beer on site, no cocktails. Food, not day one. We definitely want to add food at some point in the future, but there's a lot of restaurants around. We'll definitely allow food to come in the door. And then one interesting thing that I forgot to mention during the city meeting we had, which had the building department, the planning commission, all these people, and the police were there as well. So the police have a lot to say so of where alcohol is served and how it's served and that sort of thing. And one of their concerns was underage drinking, which is their normal concern at a place, because they view pinball games as kids, they're fights, of course. And we will have a crane game or two. They said, well, what about at late hours? So we actually agreed to do over 21. So weeknights were over 21 from 8 to midnight, or 8 to 11, and then weekends will be over 21 from 9 to midnight. And we didn't push back on that too much, because I don't want a kiddie place. I want a fucking bar. That's what we're building. So kids are welcome during the day, but this thing's at night. I want Pulp Fiction turned up on the adult full blast, saying all the movie lines and all that shit.
There you go.
Man. So at night, this place is a bar. We're proud of it. We're excited about that. It's going to definitely be themed to the grown-up crowd.
Awesome. John Spates and Taylor Buckley are two. Well, John's one of the Wormhole 5, and he's on the board of directors, but he's an operator. I don't know if you met him, Hans, but he was walking around Expo with me, and breweries are his secret sauce.
Yeah.
In fact, his brewery that we have 13, he has 13 pins now, and they're moving to 17. So little by little, he's got league there tomorrow night, and just doing a great job. Those breweries are just fantastic. You're right, because they got the space, right? And they need to bring in people. And we have gotten such growth from all these different locations. It used to be just 2 or 3 places in Houston. Now our calendar's full, and it's just amazing. We had 65 people come to the Wormhole on a 4X on last Saturday. So it's insane, the growth of pinball, and I'm absolutely loving it. So, all right, boys, we're gonna play the hurry up. This is our rapid fire game. Coe's gonna play.
All right.
Are you ready? Hans,
Yes.
most played, highest earning machine you currently have on location.
Oh, good one. It's between Godzilla and Scooby-Doo.
Really? I would have lost money on Scooby.
It's doing good.
Nick, give me your holy grail pinball machine to add to the museum.
That I want to add?
Yes, sir.
I mean, and that I can, or that I would just want to? I mean, because, I mean, so, okay, I'll tell you one thing. This is one we're getting. Have you heard of a game called Critical Mass?
No.
Gottlieb developed Critical Mass at the same time as Black Hole, and
Okay.
Gottlieb was going to choose one or the other. They built one Critical Mass, white wood, has this lower area with pinballs flying around like a reactor and all this stuff, and then it got thrown into a barn and completely disassembled, and the ROMs were all anyway. There was a guy, Eric, who restored it with the approval of Robert Feistgen. He's the keeper of the Gottlieb trademarks and LLCs, all that stuff. Anyway, not LLCs, but the trademarks of the brand, and gave his blessing to recreate, and bring Critical Mass back to life. So it's now clear-coated, white wood. Artwork has been created for it. The ROM has been restored, and everything has been put together. And I played this at Allentown, or no, the York show this past October. And it just so happens they've been looking for a nonprofit museum that they want to give it to
Wow.
carry it on, and we will be getting that. So
Congratulations.
one of one,
Great.
one of one in the world. So
Those are fantastic. I love
Amazing.
those stories.
I guess Critical Mass would be it. Anyway.
I went to Stern Pinball last week, ladies and gentlemen. I was very honored to be invited to go check out their new Dungeons and Dragons with a bunch of content creators. So each of you, give me your first impression. Is this a hit? Coe, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes. Yes, I think so. The animatronic dragon, incredible.
Yeah.
Looks amazing. Artwork is awesome. And I think it's a good, strong theme.
Hans, what do you think about Dungeons and Dragons?
Absolutely. Yeah. I wasn't crazy about the theme, but after seeing gameplay and finally a really good mech in it, I'm almost getting convinced to buy a premium too. The pro looks great too, but
The premium's pretty BA. I'm not going to lie to you. It spits out those balls from his mouth and the dungeon comes up. It's pretty cool.
Yep. So I'd say yes, it's a hit.
Nick, what do you think?
I'm trying to buy one right now. I haven't even seen it, or I mean, I haven't played it, but I mean, I haven't seen it in person. I've only seen a few little videos of it. But what they're doing is gamifying pinball, because apparently you can create a character, you can come back and continue, and you can level up and stuff. This is something that's happening across our entire culture, the gamification of everything from your Starbucks points to your, and I'm actually doing this with the museum. I'm creating LED displays with your high score, and you can earn certain things. And so this is moving with the trend. I think it's going to be really hot, and I can't wait to put it on location. It'll be a pro though, because the moving parts and the wear and tear, that.
Yeah. I think the pro's going to do very well. Eureka Heights is getting a pro. The pro's going to do really well. It's 6 balls. It's still awesome.
Yeah.
It's still awesome. Yeah. Nick, you can only visit one of the locations again on your North American tour. Where are you going back?
Of all of America?
Your North American tour, and you decided you booked a flight, but you can only go to one of those locations. Let's upset some people.
Boy, that's really hard. There's just so much diversity.
Nick's doing really well with the hurry up.
Yeah, I know. I can't. Real quick. I mean, it would probably. I mean, just off the cuff, I think Pacific Northwest, because I enjoyed my time there so much, and that was the choice where I was going to move before I picked Roanoke, which is kind of the Pacific Northwest of the Mid-Atlantic, because it's also very green, very nice seasons, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just need to spend more time. I got to go see Coe. Got to see up in Quarter Drop, and also I got to visit Next Level, and see. So
that's a great place.
Yeah, I guess maybe another trip up there.
All right, Coe, give me the arcade, museum, or establishment that you'd really like to visit when you aren't so busy with the quarter drop in 2025.
Well, Wormhole, obviously.
Thank
I can't wait.
Yeah, we got to get you here. That's just, you have a few
Yeah.
minutes to stay. We're going to get you here. Same question to you, Hans. Where are you going?
The one I've been to before, I've not been to before.
To you.
Well,
Up
I'm
to
from
you.
the Bay Area originally, so I got to give it to Mike Sheese and the Pacific Pinball Museum, and over the bridge to San Francisco to Free Gold Watch as well. So both of your former guests love
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
love
great.
both locations.
hmm
It's fun. So, and the Flipper Room in Concord as well. So there's lots to do in the Bay Area.
Coe, you can only buy one of these rumored pins in 2025. Which one are you buying? King Kong, Harry Potter, or Pokemon for the quarter drop?
Harry Potter and Pokemon theme-wise don't do anything for me. So King Kong, hopefully Keith Owen.
Hans, what are you making money off of in 2025? Which one of those machines?
Um, Pokemon for sure. Yep, I think
Yeah.
the will be great. So let's hope.
I think what if real quick, if they do with Pokemon what they're doing with Dungeons and Dragons with the leveling up, forget about it.
Forget about it.
Well,
I'll
yeah,
buy
and
it
if I'm
myself.
buying it as an operator, Pokemon would be my
Yeah.
answer. Or and probably Harry Potter. Both of those would be great. But just like personally, those
Okay.
don't do anything for me.
What do you think, Nick? Which one of those titles would you
I
like
mean, the
to see?
Pokemon makes sense, but for the kind of museum that I've got, and I try to concentrate on like franchises that have a lot of cultural pull, it's Harry Potter.
Oh.
Just gotta be.
Well, I almost called you ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. This is a great fifth edition of the podcast we call Arcades Across America. Nick, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us about the museum and all the great things you're doing. Please visit roanokepinball.org for more information and hours of operation. Anything you want to plug as well?
Hey, buy a raffle ticket where our odds are 1 in 665. We pay the tax and we'll ship it to you as long as you're in the continental USA. So $20 a ticket. Buy 10, get one free. Not a bad
How
way
do
to
you
go.
how do you beat that?
Mhm.
Hans, thank you as well. I had a great time chatting with you at Expo and always chatting with you here. That's fantastic. Anything you'd like to plug, sir?
Yeah, so it's Hyper Beer Co. So hyperbeerco.com. It is Hyper Beer Co. on Facebook and Instagram and all that. It is very young. The socials, I got to warn you, we're just getting started. The holy grail there is Co. It's incredible social media
Oh,
presence on Instagram and elsewhere.
he's
So
the best.
the bar is set high, but look for some fun videos. I've been kind of inspired by Co. and his work on that. So anyway, Hyper Beer Co. In Anaheim, California.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Coe, where can people follow you and your progress on the quarter drop? 11 days left on this Tuesday.
No, it's amazing. Quarter Drop Arcade, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Opening day, January 25th. I can't wait. Very exciting.
Of course, you can find all the information on wormholepinball.com or Wormhole Pinball on all the socials. We're trying to keep up with Coe, right? I mean, we're trying. We're trying. Before I sign out, I want to ask our audience if anyone is seen for sale or is anyone is interested in selling any pinball machines by a French company called Rally Play Company. They made games from 61 to 69, and we want one pretty badly. So be on the lookout, ladies and gentlemen, for one of those. And email us at wormholepinball@gmail.com. Everyone, thank you so much this evening. I really appreciate it. This is a blast. For Wormhole Pinball and Arcades Across America, I'm Jamie Birchall. Please visit your local arcades. They're owned and run by great people like Coe, Hans, and Nick. Thank you.